But first tonight, I can exclusively reveal that Foreign Minister Penny Wong's decision to support the UN resolution recognising Palestinian sovereignty went against the recommendation and submission from Australia's mission to the United Nations. Our diplomats over at the UN recommended that Australia should, like our allies America, Canada and Israel, abstain from this resolution and not support it, in keeping with Australia's position over the past decade. But Penny Wong overruled them, making, effectively, a captain's call. I also understand this decision didn't go to either Cabinet or the National Security Committee of Cabinet. Again, this was a decision from Penny Wong and her pro-Palestinian partner in crime, Anthony Albanese. I do understand that Senator Wong consulted with some Cabinet colleagues, but not all, on the decision. This decision blindsided the Canadian mission, which had been under the impression that Australia would continue to abstain. Now, after this change in position, Australia's mission to the UN was then instructed by the Albanese government to inform partner countries of the government's decision. But it wasn't just Canada that was horrified. There was shocked reaction to this here in Australia as well. It was widely reported that this was Penny Wong caving into and even rewarding the terrorism of October 7 by recognising Palestinian sovereignty. Despite no answers over exactly who would lead a Palestinian state, I mean, surely not Hamas, and no demands that they accept Israel's right to exist. As you know, the Nightly ran a cover saying, Penny Wong rewards Hamas terrorists by shifting government's UN stance on Palestine sovereign status. And that image there, of course, harkening back to the gates of Auschwitz. Chris Kenny, in a sensational editorial, said that this was a capitulation to extremists and terrorism, and also a surrender to base electoral politics. He said that Albanese and Wong should think about whether Hamas even wants peace before trying to reward it with what he described as a make-believe state still under terrorist control.
This is not only grotesque, it's absurd, because neither Hamas nor Hezbollah nor Islamic Jihad nor Iran will ever accept and implement the establishment of a Palestinian state that requires recognition and security for the state of Israel. This is idiotic because there has never been a Palestinian state, and every time one has been on offer, it's the Palestinians who have rejected it, preferring to back Islamist terror outfits like Hamas, who want to kill Jews and eliminate Israel.
Yeah, and that's a point that Bill Clinton made on the campaign trail. And he should know his efforts at the Camp David summit were stymied by the Palestinians.
All this was offered. They said no. And I think part of it is that Hamas did not care about a homeland for the Palestinians. They wanted to kill Israelis and make Israel uninhabitable.
And his whole speech was brilliant, and Penny Wong should listen to it. But Alexander Downer had some of his own advice for Penny Wong, from one former foreign minister to the current one.
If I were in government today, if therefore I could give a bit of advice to Penny Wong and the Labor government, I would think about drafting a resolution which demanded that Hamas hand over the 100 or so hostages that they're still holding and cease attacks on Israel.
Yeah, how about that suggestion? The Australian also reported that this decision by the government was deepening Australia's rift with the United States on Israel. The Biden administration was unequivocal in condemning this one-sided UN resolution. And their diplomat, Nicholas Covell, said that the resolution would actually undermine hopes for an end to the war.
One-sided resolutions will not help advance peace, not when they ignore the facts on the ground. One-sided resolutions are purely rhetorical documents that seek to divide us at a time when we should be coming together.
And he also spoke about the persistent bias at the United Nations against Israel. And that's from the Biden administration. We know how much stronger Donald Trump's team is going to be. So tonight, right now, I'm reporting that this decision by Australia to vote with this one-sided resolution was done against the advice of our own bureaucrats and diplomats. And this is the first time Australia has supported this resolution against Israel. No explanation has been offered for what's changed to mean that Australia would now support this resolution. Well, I asked Penny Wong today for comment on this, and her spokesperson said, and I quote, "While Australia does not agree with everything in the resolution, this vote reflects international concern about Israeli actions that impede access to natural resources and ongoing settlement activity, land dispossession, demolitions, and settler violence against Palestinians." She said, "We've been clear that such acts undermine stability and prospects for a two-state solution. This vote is consistent with the priority we place on building momentum towards a two-state solution." Well, I would have thought that the terrorist attacks on October 7 and ever since do much more to undermine a two-state solution. Now, the only explanation I can see is that the Albanese government is once again putting domestic politics first. They've never been strong supporters of Israel, to say the least. As you know, Albanese was a pro-Palestinian activist, yelling into a megaphone at a rally where American and Israeli flags were burned. I lament every day that this is the government we've been dealt with at the single point in time when anti-Semitism is the worst it's been since the Holocaust. A weak, ineffective, anti-Israel government, and we need better than this.